You could be sitting next to a millionaire on a Tokyo subway and have absolutely no idea. No watch, no logo, no signal. Japan has nearly 3 million millionaires, fourth in the world by total count, according to the UBS Global Wealth Report. And most of them are completely invisible. No mansion, no announcement, just a quiet, compounding machine running in the background of an ordinary-looking life. Meanwhile, in the United States, nearly half of all adults report living paycheck to paycheck, including people earning well into six figures. More income, more stress, less wealth. The gap between those two realities isn't explained by intelligence or luck. It's explained by a completely different relationship with money. Japan has a set of cultural principles some centuries old that treat wealth not as something you display, but as something you protect. And when you understand them, you'll realize the game most people are playing is the wrong one entirely. Here are 8 of those principles. And no, you don't need to move to Tokyo to use any of them. Welcome to Minecraft, where ideas become action, and action becomes your future. If this is the kind of clarity you've been looking for, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who's working hard but still feels behind. Let's get into it. Habit 1. Kakeibo. In 1904, a Japanese journalist named Hani Motoko introduced a household budgeting system in a women's magazine. She called it Kakeibo, roughly translated as household financial ledger. It has one rule: write everything down by hand. Not an app, not a spreadsheet. A pen and paper. Every purchase gets sorted into 4 categories: needs, wants, culture, and unexpected. At the end of each month, you answer 4 questions. How much did I have? How much did I spend? How much did I save? And how can I do better? That last question is the one most budgets skip entirely. Research on handwriting and memory consistently shows that writing by hand increases information processing and retention compared to typing. You don't just record the number, you actually feel it. And that friction, that small moment of awareness, is exactly what impulse spending is designed to eliminate. Practitioners of Kakeibo report saving up to 35% more per month than before they started. Not because they earned more, because they finally saw where the money was going. Visibility is the first form of control. Habit 2. Motenai. There's a Japanese concept that has no real English equivalent, and that gap in the language might explain a lot about the gap in savings rates. The word is motainai. It's rooted in Buddhist philosophy, and it expresses a specific feeling, something between regret and shame, when something of value goes to waste. Not just physical waste, wasted time, wasted potential, wasted money. Americans throw away roughly 30 to 40% of the food they purchase, according to the USDA. Clothing gets worn a handful of times and discarded. Appliances break and the default response is replacement, not repair. Each of those decisions feels small. Together, they quietly drain thousands of dollars every year. Motainai asks a different question before every purchase. Will I actually use this completely? And before discarding something, does this still have value? It reframes consumption, not as a reward, but as a responsibility. You spent real hours earning that money. Wasting what it bought is wasting the hours themselves. That reframe alone changes spending behavior more than any budget ever will. Habit 3. Kaizen. After World War II, Japan's economy was in ruins, cities destroyed, industry fractured. And from that context, a management philosophy emerged that would eventually be credited with turning Japan into one of the world's largest economies. It was called Kaizen, literally change for better. The idea is not transformation, it's not dramatic overhaul, it's one small improvement, made consistently, forever. Toyota applied Kaizen to manufacturing and disrupted the entire global automotive industry. The same logic applies to saving money. Most people fail at personal finance the same way they fail at the gym. They try to change everything at once, burn out inside of a month, and return to zero. Kaizen rejects that model entirely. It says, find one thing to improve this week. Save $5 more than last week. Cut one subscription you forgot about. That's it, then repeat. Mathematically, a 1% daily improvement compounds to a 37-fold gain over a year. That's not motivation, that's arithmetic. And it's the reason small, boring consistency beats ambitious plans that collapse. The people who quietly build wealth are almost never the ones who made one great decision. They're the ones who made slightly better decisions, every week for years. Habit 4. Ichigo Ichie. This one comes from Japanese tea ceremony culture. Ichigo Ichie translates to one time, one meeting, the idea that every encounter is unique and unrepeatable, so it deserves full presence. Applied to money, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for eliminating impulse spending that exists. Here's why impulse spending is so hard to beat. Desire is most intense at the exact moment you encounter a product. Online retail is engineered around this. One-click buying exists for a single reason: to eliminate the pause between wanting and purchasing. Ichigo Ichie restores that pause. Before buying anything non-essential, you wait. You put it on a list. You come back in 30 days. If you still want it, you probably genuinely do. In most cases, the desire has vanished entirely on its own. That 30-day list costs nothing. The spending it prevents can add up to thousands of dollars a year on things you wanted for about 11 minutes. Habit 5. Wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is a Zen concept that finds beauty in impermanence, imperfection, and simplicity. The most familiar image is the Japanese art of kintsugi, repairing cracked ceramics with gold, making the damaged part of the beauty rather than hiding it. The financial application cuts deeper than it might seem. American consumer culture runs on a single engine: the feeling that what you have is not enough. Social media industrialized that feeling. Every scroll is a curated feed of upgrades, renovations, and lifestyles designed to make your current situation look inadequate. Wabi-sabi doesn't ask you to stop wanting more. It asks you to stop being at war with what you already have. That distinction matters financially, because lifestyle inflation, the tendency to spend more every time you earn more, is almost never driven by need. It's driven by comparison. Contentment isn't passivity. It's the thing that keeps wealth from leaking out while you're building it. Habit 6. Harahachi-bu. Okinawa is one of the world's most studied blue zones, places where people routinely live past 100 in good health. Researchers studying daily life there keep finding the same phrase spoken before meals: hara-hachi-bu. Eat until you are 80% full. The health outcomes speak for themselves, but the financial principle hidden inside this habit is worth slowing down for. If you consistently consume 80% of what you think you want, the math changes everywhere. You spend less on food, you buy fewer things you don't finish, you skip the premium upgrade you would have forgotten about in a week. And critically, that last 20% is almost always the most expensive portion. The add-on, the larger size, the top-tier version, the thing that costs the most and delivers the least marginal satisfaction. The gap between 80% and 100% is where consumer spending is most aggressive and where personal wealth is most quietly drained. Stopping just before that line, in any category, is a habit that compounds in ways most people never calculate. Habit 7. Danshari. Long before minimalism became a Western trend, Japan had danshari, a philosophy built on 3 actions: refuse what you don't need, dispose of what you no longer use, and release your attachment to possessions. Most people think of decluttering as a physical exercise. It's actually a financial audit. Every object you own represents a financial decision that has already been made. The pile of things you bought and never fully used is a record of money that left your account and produced nothing. That is not a judgment, it is a fact. But the more important shift happens before the next purchase. When you regularly examine what you actually use, you become more deliberate about what enters your life. You start asking not whether something is appealing, but whether it will earn its place. That single question, asked consistently before buying, changes the entire trajectory of your spending. Danshari doesn't just clear your space, it clarifies your standards. Habit 8. Shogunai. The final habit is not about budgets or purchases. It's about where you direct your mental energy, and it might be the most underestimated wealth-building principle on this list. Shogunai means it cannot be helped. It is a practiced acceptance of things outside your control, not resignation, but clarity. A significant amount of financial stress in America is attached to circumstances people cannot change: where they started, what their parents had, the economy, other people's advantages. That comparison is not just emotionally exhausting, it is financially expensive. Energy spent resenting your starting point is energy not spent improving your current position. Shogunai draws a clean line between what is fixed and what is movable. You cannot change your past, you cannot control the market, you cannot rewrite your starting conditions, but you can control today's savings rate, today's spending decision, today's habit. All wealth is built in that second list. Shogunai doesn't ask you to accept less. It asks you to stop wasting power on the things that won't move so you can concentrate everything on the things that will. 8 habits, 8 different entry points, but one common thread running through all of them. None of this is about earning more. Every single principle is about the relationship you have with the money you already make, the visibility you bring to it, the patience you apply to it, the clarity you demand from it. Japan didn't build generational quiet wealth by winning some financial lottery. It built it by making slightly better decisions, slightly more often, across an entire lifetime. That's a game anyone can play. The question is whether you're willing to play it quietly. So here's what I want you to think about. Which of these 8 habits have you already been living without realizing it? And which one have you been avoiding because it asks you to want less? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this video shifted something for